Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Pedro here. I believe that this message is finding you well on this new week. I believe that you're going to have a very, very successful week. You're going to have a very, very happy week, and you're going to have a very, very healthy week. Over the next few minutes that we have together, we're going to explore an extremely important subject which has a very, very strong impact on your ability to live a happy, healthy, and successful life. We're going to be exploring how to let go of attachments, stop being insecure, and stop seeking approval and validation. So I am airing this recording on my Facebook timeline, but this recording is specifically being made for the Velvet Mastermind Club, and I'm also going to share it in my personal development blog. So with that, I'd like us to begin by paying close attention to what our heart is telling us. You see, I got up this morning and I started the week off with a lot of gusto, with a lot of enthusiasm. I have big goals, I have big vision for my life, and for the first 5 hours, I was moving very fast, trying to accomplish a lot of things in the external world. And as I was getting ready to come over here and do this presentation at 1 p.m., I got the message that I need to just slow down for a short time and just connect to my heart. Because the subject that we're going to be exploring here is literally a subject of the heart. As a result, I invite you to, first and foremost, play some nice healing music in the background. Right now I have some, what do I have going on here? I have some deep healing energy, 527 hertz ancient frequency playing in the background. So just let that play, and I want to invite you to connect to your heart. You know, just be quiet for a second. Just sit still for a second with yourself and begin to listen. Begin to listen to your heart. Every single day as you go about your day-to-day activities, your heart is trying to communicate to you. Your heart is trying to tell you what is the right path to take and what is the wrong path to leave. And if you listen to your heart, you'll begin to develop a deeper relationship with yourself, which is the true path to all healing. And when you listen to your heart, you'll begin to understand what type of attachments that you have in your life. Are you attached to certain people? Maybe it's a relationship. Are you attached to certain things? Maybe it's money, maybe it's a home, maybe it's a car. Are you attached to other people's opinions of you? You're concerned about what people think about you. I want you to take this time to really just sit back and think about what areas in your life you are looking for approval. Think about what areas of your life you are looking for validation. Think about those areas in your life whereby when people do not approve of you or validate you, you feel an immense amount of pain. Connect deep into your heart and listen to what your heart is trying to tell you. Listen. 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 I welcome you to think about what areas in your life that attachments are holding you back. You know, is it the area of relationships? Do you find yourself continuously attracted to certain types of relationships that are not really conducive to your happiness, your health, and your success? When you think about your life today, you realize that you have certain dreams, you have certain hopes, you have certain aspirations, you have a vision of what you want to accomplish in your life. However, if you look closely enough, you will discover that one of the main reasons that you don't really go for your dreams is because you're scared of what other people think about you. You're scared of what other people will say about you. You're scared of other people's opinions. This is one form of attachment. So we can very, very clearly see that attachments really hold us back from living the life more abundant. However, there is one form of attachment which I believe is our right form of attachment. The rest of them are unhealthy. But there's one form of attachment which is a right form of attachment. And that is an attachment to your life purpose. To your life purpose. Have you invested the time to connect with your inner being and really ask what it is that you are here to do in this plane? You have certain gifts, you have certain talents which you came into this world with. And these gifts and these talents have been given to you because you are a unique individual. You are one of a kind. How's it going, Miriam? Welcome, Miriam. Welcome. So you've been given certain talents and you've been given certain gifts which no one else in the universe has. And these gifts are the ones that you are to use to fulfill your destiny and your purpose in this plane. And when you go for your purpose in this plane that we call Earth, the easier it will be for you to achieve a high level of happiness, health, and success. As a result, I say that one of the main attachments which is healthy is the attachment to your purpose. But other than that, now we want to explore what are the negative attachments that you have in your life that lead to you experiencing insecurity, seeking approval, and seeking validation from other people. And I'm going to share with you some examples of some things that I have experienced in my own life in the form of attachments. And as I share with you these examples, I want you to just think about your own experience, because this message I'm creating is really, really all about you. Think about your own experiences. And I'm going to start from most recently and kind of go backwards. So something as very, very simple, I say simple in quotes. Something as very, very simple as coming onto a Facebook Live to communicate a certain message. You know, when I'm thinking about the videos that I'm creating and I'm getting messages, people are sending messages and telling me that some of the messages I'm creating are helping them. I notice myself that I begin to experience a certain form of attachment. Attachment to the results, attachment to the outcome, attachment to the fact that are people enjoying the information that I'm creating. I look at this attachment and I have two ways that I can deal with the attachment. The negative way to deal with the attachment is to be so overly concerned with what people think that it holds me back from expressing my truth and expressing my message. That is one negative form of attachment, and there's a lot of people who have a message, who have a voice, and they want to share this message with the world, but they have this negative attachment as it pertains to what people will say about them, what people will think about them if they express what is inside of their heart. As a result, they may not use platforms like this, or they may not get up and really share their message. So I take this attachment and I turn it into, I view it from a positive perspective, in that I notice that I'm attached to a certain outcome. However, I decide to communicate and share my message in spite of that attachment, knowing that the more I take action in spite of an attachment that I have, the easier it will become for me to heal my personal attachments. So that's one example of that. But let's look at the realm of relationships, and this is where attachments really, really, really show up. I remember 10 years ago, I met a lady who in my mind was the lady of my dreams, and that was purely from a physical perspective. She was very, very beautiful. She was in great, phenomenal shape, and every time I went out with her to places, you know, she made me look good because she looked amazing. So at that young age, I didn't know it, but I developed an attachment to this lady because of how she actually looks. And I didn't know I had an attachment until the relationship went sideways and we broke up. And maybe you have been in a relationship and you have broke up and you've begun to experience some very, very, very disconcerting emotions. for myself, I decided that I was going to move all the mountains to actually win her back. And that winning her back actually displayed itself as a very, very negative attachment to somebody. I was doing things that I wouldn't do in my normal state of mind. I was chasing her. I was trying to convince her that she has to be with me. And it was very, 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 very painful going through that breakup. But as I was going through that breakup, that is when my healing actually began, because I began to see and discover that I am not really, really attached to the lady. I'm attached to not being lonely. So that is another area where attachment showed up in my life in terms of relationships. So I want you to think about, in your own world, where is it showing up? Is it showing up in relationships? Is it showing up in your ability to go out into the world and express yourself? Maybe take a risk and build a business and not worry about what people will think about you as you're building your business? Or is attachment that you have an attachment to material things, right? Money, your home, your car. You see, I grew up in an environment whereby I grew up in a very, very poor environment. And as a young child, I developed a very, very deep attachment for money, because I wrongly assumed that if I have a lot of money, I am going to be worthy. How did I reach this wrong conclusion? I reached this wrong conclusion because a lot of people around me had money, but I didn't have any money. I used to put on the same clothes from January 1st to December 31st. School uniform. I used to walk home over the lunch hour to eat and walk back to school for 2 hours because I didn't have money to buy food. So in my mind, I wrongly assumed that money is exactly what I need to improve my self-worth. So this is another area that you may have an attachment to. But instead of looking at some of the attachments that we have, I think it's very, very important to actually explore the origin of attachments and insecurity and approval-seeking behavior. Last week we had a Facebook Live here in which we talked about how to overcome trauma. And that Facebook Live was inspired by a message I got from a gentleman who shared with me that he had experienced a lot of trauma in his life. His father wasn't there. He was physically and mentally abused. And as he grew up, he had developed a low self-image. And then he got married. And when he got married, he noticed that his low self-image showed up in a very, very, very high level of attachment to his wife. Such that when he broke up with his wife, he went literally crazy because he believed that he could not live without his wife. So when I heard his story, I started thinking about the origin of attachment, and at the root cause is a lack of self-love. A lack of self-love. And there's a deeper cause which we're going to explore in a bit. But if you do not love yourself and accept yourself exactly as you are, I have to say that one more time. If you do not love yourself and accept yourself exactly as you are, then you are going to seek the love and validation from external things, such as other people in a relationship, or a vehicle, or a car, or a house, or the validation and approval of other people in a career or a business setting. You see, if you had an immense amount of self-love for yourself, if you accept yourself and you love yourself exactly as you are, then it's not going to matter to you what your spouse thinks about you, right? You're not going to be attached to how your spouse views you. You're not going to be attached to how you are viewed in the office. You're not going to be attached to how society views you in your business. When you get up to speak, you're not going to be attached to the outcome. And as a result of this, you're going to be able to express yourself more and show your beauty to the world. And the more that you show your beauty to the world, the easier it will be for you to add a lot of value to the lives of other people, which will result in happiness, health, and success. So when we go back and say that the cause of attachments is a lack of self-love, we have to go back and ask, what is actually the reason that majority of us, I'll say easily up to 90%, majority of us do not have a high level of self-love? And it literally comes down to psychological abuse, that is mental abuse, emotional abuse, and in certain cases, physical abuse, whereby our primary guardians could have been parents, could have been teachers, just whoever was around us when we were growing up, planted messages and images in our minds that made us mistakenly believe that there is something wrong with us. And the moment you begin to feel that there's something wrong with you, you're going to do things to affirm your worth in the external world. You'll get into the wrong kinds of relationships looking for love. You'll get into the wrong type of career. You'll get into the wrong type of business. Right? You're going to hide instead of letting your light shine. So we can easily see that the cause of a lack of self-love comes from mental, emotional, psychological, and in certain cases physical abuse that we have experienced when we're young. And crazily enough, even when we are adults, we experience a lot of mental abuse, not necessarily from our primary guardians, but from society in general, whereby society is telling you what you can or cannot be. For example, they'll tell you, hey, what makes you think that you can achieve a high level of success? What makes you think that you can be happy? What makes you think that you can live the life of your dreams? So you're getting messages from society that is also affecting your ability to love and accept yourself. So now that we know the cause of lack of self-love, which leads to a low self-esteem, then the next thing that we want to do is we want to find ways to change the messages that are playing themselves in our subconscious mind repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly. Because up until now, up until when you're actually watching this video, if you look around your environment and you notice that you are not living the life of your dreams, if you're not really living the life of your dreams in relationships, in success, in career, in health, if you're not living the life of your dreams, it simply means that there are certain beliefs that you have in your subconscious mind that are actually preventing you from achieving your dreams. So the process is to begin to heal those negative beliefs, and the best way, one of the best ways that I know, is to continuously, relentlessly, persistently, and consistently begin to plant the messages in your mind that affirm your worth. So we call this affirmations. We call this affirmations. However, people don't take affirmations seriously and use them effectively, and therefore they do not experience the transformations that they're looking for. Well, how will you actually use affirmations? I want you to think about the duration of time it actually took for you to develop a negative mental blueprint. It easily could have been 20 years from the time you're born to maybe 18. That's when you're around your parents or your primary guardians. So in an 18-year period, you have been receiving messages and messages and messages that are disempowering. And therefore, the moment you begin to transform your life, personal growth and development, self-help, healing, the moment you start, you will experience a huge amount of resistance, which is coming from the momentum that has been developed due to the avalanche of negative beliefs that have been planted in your subconscious mind. And therefore, the only way to actually counter that is, one of the ways, not the only way, is when you begin to do, for example, your affirmations, when you begin to plant the right messages in your mind. You want to do this every single day, in the morning when you get up, at night before you go to sleep. You want to write them down. You want to write them down. You want to write them down. And you also want to speak them into the mirror. I love myself and accept myself exactly as I am. I'm a beautiful soul in the process of evolution. I am glorious. I am magnificent. I am here for a purpose. I'm here to make a difference in the world. You speak to yourself in this affirmative tone because no one is going to speak to you in this manner unless you have the right people around you. And this process of transforming your mind is something that, at the worst case scenario, you must be committed. I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but you must be committed to doing it for at least the same amount of time that it took to plant the negative thoughts in your mind. People want quick fixes. It took 18 years to plant negative beliefs in your mind. Therefore, in your mind, I want you to just make up the decision that over the next 18 years, you're going to really, really work hard on the transformation process and not give up when you don't see results immediately. However, you can accelerate it. You can accelerate it. I started my transformation journey exactly 10 years ago. And it took me exactly 8 years of every single day working on my subconscious mind, as well as my body, my spirituality, and other areas of my life. So this is the process of growth. When we talk about insecurity and seeking approval, I think about the story that the gentleman shared with me. He told me that he did not know his real father. And when I think about my own experience, when I was 15 years old, I remember I came home. And when I came home, there was a note. I believe it was on my bed. And it was a note from my mother. And she had written down in the note that, "Son, I have to go. I cannot stand the abuse anymore." My father was abusing my mother physically, mentally, emotionally, all sorts of ways. And she just couldn't do it anymore. So she took my little brother and she ran away to England. She ran away to England. And I love my mom. My mom is like, she's like my heart. So when I got that letter, being 15 years old, I remember going into the washroom and just crying. And I just cried, and I just cried, and I just cried, and I just cried. And the reason I was crying was because even though I knew my mom loved me and I loved her, I felt like my mother left me. But she didn't really leave me. She was running away from my father. But I felt like she left me. And therefore, when I grew up, I did not want to experience that feeling of being abandoned anymore. Right? And therefore, personally, I would get into relationships just because I wanted somebody to be with me. And on the outset, it may have looked like I was getting into relationships because I wanted, hey Layla, welcome Layla. I was getting into relationships because maybe I might have thought that, we all get into relationships for all sorts of funny reasons. But as a man, I got into a relationship because maybe I thought that, hey, the woman was beautiful, or hey, maybe I wanted to be engaged in an intimate sexual relationship with her, or maybe I wanted her to be next to me to make me look good, right? So I was getting into relationships for a lot of these external reasons, but the truth is, I was trying to fill a void. I was trying to fill a void, and the void is the void of not being abandoned again. So if you look at any attachments that you have, I want you to just go back and think about like your childhood and think about situations whereby you may not have received a lot of love from somebody. Maybe it was your dad, or maybe it was your mom. And those places or those times when you did not receive a lot of love from your primary guardians are the origin of any forms of attachments and insecurity and approval-seeking behavior. Now, I would say that literally 90% of people in society have experienced a not so stellar childhood. Therefore, now that we are adults, it is incumbent upon us to take control of our destiny. We cannot look back and say that, you know what, I didn't have a good childhood, and because I didn't have a good childhood, then I cannot be happy, healthy, and successful. Welcome, Sasha. Welcome, Sasha. Welcome, welcome. So we cannot say that because I didn't have a good childhood, life is not going to be the way I want it to be. It's very important that we take ownership of our transformation. And now that we're grown up, it's very important that we really invest quality time, money, and resources to heal all of the pain that we have experienced in our earlier years, right? The psychological, or mental, or physical abuse, to heal. And we want to do this because literally our level of happiness depends on our ability to get into relationships in such a manner that we are secure in those relationships. We don't need the other person. We desire the other person, yes, but we don't need the other person. We want to get into relationships in such a manner that we don't need their approval. That's very unattractive. We appreciate the approval, but we don't need their approval. We do not need their validation, right? So the more you heal yourself, the more you heal any mental, emotional, or psychological abuse that you have experienced, the easier it will be for you to attract and get into healthy relationships. And these are relationships that could be intimate. These are relationships that are in the career space, or these are relationships that are in the business space. So we can see why it's very important for us to actually invest the time to heal. Now, outside of relationships, one thing that's very, 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 very important for living a happy and successful life is the ability to create success in the external world, right? And you can create that success in your career, or you can create it in a business setting. But any form of success, whether it's in your career or whether it's in a business setting, is always, always, always going to require you to show yourself to the world, to stick out. You know, if it's in your career, you have to stick out and add a lot of value. If it's in your business, you have to stick out and add a lot of value, right? If you want to reach people through Facebook or through YouTube, you have to come and do a live and speak out and add a lot of value. However, if you don't heal the mental and the emotional and the psychological challenges, then you will be scared to stick out and express yourself to the world, because you will be attached. You will be attached to what people think about you. That's why public speaking is one of the most scary things that people want to do, is because they're attached to what people think about them. And therefore you can see that the more you actually heal any psychological and emotional as well as physical abuse, the easier it will be for you to lose attachments, to let go of attachments, and therefore show up in the world on a bigger level. And as a result of this, create a higher level of success. So we can see it affecting your happiness in terms of your relationships. We can see it affecting your success, and it affects your health. It affects your health. And what kind of health, what part of the health does it affect most? You see, when you have a lot of attachments, when you experience insecurity, when you are seeking approval and validation, your mental health suffers, because you use a lot of energy seeking the approval of other people, seeking validation from other people, staying attached. This uses up energy, and this energy is not available to help you heal your body, rejuvenate your body, fill your body with vibrancy, keep you looking young, repairing your body. You know what I'm saying? So people think that we get old because of old age. I don't believe that we get old. I believe we can stay young for a very, very long time if we maintain our mental and emotional health. That's why healing is very, very, very important. So as we go out into this new week, I want you to do the exercise that I introduced in the beginning of this Facebook Live, whereby, you know, even just today, just take like 10 minutes or just take 15 minutes, you know, and put some nice healing music on YouTube. I got 528 Hertz playing in the background, and just keep quiet and just connect to your heart. You know, this is your time. Just connect to your heart for like 10-15 minutes and just begin to listen. You know, just listen to what your heart is trying to tell you. Right? Where are you attached? Who are you attached to? What are you attached to? Right? The more you listen, the more you begin to understand yourself, the more you begin to know yourself. Right? Your heart is telling you where you're seeking validation. Your heart is telling you where you're seeking approval. Your heart will tell you where you're insecure, and as a result, where you need to heal. Right? And as you practice this process, you develop the ability to become the observer, become the watcher of your thoughts and of your emotions. And when you start developing the ability to watch your emotions and watch your thoughts, then it opens up the space for you to take different actions in the future, right? If you notice that you are attached to somebody, right? Because of this exercise, now you can see that attachment, you can feel that attachment, you can watch it. And even though it's painful, you sit with the pain and you can choose to take a different direction. You see what I'm saying? We're talking about the development of presence. We're talking about the development of a high level of awareness. And as you do this exercise repeatedly of listening to your heart, not running away, then you begin to heal without the need of external agents. You feel the pain, you dive deep into the pain, and you dive out of the pain. You see, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, if you met me, I experienced this pain. And do you know how I dealt with the pain? I went and got a bottle of wine, and I drank the whole bottle of wine. And then I got the next bottle of wine, and I drank the whole bottle of wine, because I was running away from the pain. Right? I got the cigarettes. I got the marijuana. Right? I was running away from the pain. But once I learned this process of listening to my heart, listening to my thoughts, listening to my emotions, and feeling the pain and letting the pain heal, It's painful, it's a healing process, but not running away from it. This is how you become strong. This is how you become strong mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and as a result, physically. I believe that you are bound to be successful. I believe that you are bound to be happy. I believe that you are bound to be healthy. And this belief comes from the fact that I personally have been able to transform my life. It took me 8 years to transform my life. But I thank God that I made it to the other side of the tunnel, from a life of hell, from a life of self-destruction, from a life of self-sabotage. And there's nothing special about my story, because I know a lot of people have had it worse than me. A lot of people are going through a lot of challenges. But if you are going through a challenge in your life, I want you to know that it is possible to transform if you begin to internalize some of the things that I'm sharing here with you and just make them parts of your life. With your permission, I'd like to share with you something very, very special. My purpose. I believe that I was brought to this plane to empower billions of souls universally, to discover the inner divinity within them so that they can go out into the world and achieve a high level of happiness, health, and success. And I hope that one thing that I have said here today has helped you on your own journey of growth and development. I want to encourage you to stay tuned to the Velvet Mastermind Club. This is where I'm going to be sharing long information like this that you can use to really transform your life in all areas. And I also want to encourage you to tune into the Alpha Success Network. I have both of these platforms on Facebook pages, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and on Instagram. So just go over there and get access to information that you can use to grow. Finally, I'd like to point you to a website where I am going to be writing a lot of blogs and where I already have some products. It's called alphasuccessnetwork.com. So there's a couple of blog posts inside that website that you can read, and I'm going to be continuously adding blog posts there to really, really help people grow and transform themselves. That is the alphasuccessnetwork.com. With that, I'm wishing you a successful week. I'm wishing you a happy week. I'm wishing you a healthy week. Go out there and make a difference in your life so that you can make a difference in other people's lives. Layla, thank you very much for joining. Sasha, thank you for joining. I believe Miriam was here too. Thank you for joining. And I'm sending you all a lot of love. Goodbye, my friends. Goodbye.